Thank you, Snigdha, for joining me today. And for the viewers, Snigdha has done her master's from the University of Edinburgh, and you did your master's in Cognitive Sciences and Informatics, right?
Yes, yeah.
Right. And prior to that, you completed your bachelor's in technology in computer science from
Mhm.
the Vellore Institute of Technology from the Chennai campus.
Yes.
Right. So you graduated from your BTech in 2020.
Mhm.
And if I remember correctly, the plan earlier was to join the University of Maryland in the fall of 2020 itself for the HCI program, that is Human Computing. Uh, so, what made you change your mind that, of course, because of COVID, you could not go that year, but the following year you applied for the University of Edinburgh program and a few programs in the UK. So
Yeah.
what exactly led you to, decide that, okay, now I would also apply to some other universities in the UK and other places?
So I had the University of Maryland offer in hand,
Hmm.
but then I was also looking at some other programs in the US and UK because University of Maryland's program was great. They had like some amazing options,
Hmm.
but within the US, I wanted something like, and the UK, I wanted something that had a little more technical programs as well, technical courses.
Hmm.
Because of my background in computer science, I wanted to also look at quantitative research.
Okay.
And a lot of programs I was seeing in human computer interaction tended to focus on design.
Okay.
So I was looking for more courses that either had a strong computer science department where I would be able to take electives.
Okay.
I was also looking at different professors and their research interests.
Hmm.
And just trying again,
Okay. So yes, you
one and a
applied to
half.
some programs in the US also that the following year, right?
I was,
Yes,
yes.
yes, you're right. And then finally you narrowed down on the University of Edinburgh.
Yes.
Right. So how was your experience? I mean, now that you have even graduated from that program, so how was your
Mhm.
experience studying at this university?
It was really good, the
Mhm.
program. So one of the main reasons I chose one of the main reasons I chose Edinburgh over the US universities was that this course you had a lot more flexibility in terms of the offerings.
Okay.
You weren't limited to a particular department or a particular school. You could take electives from the School of Computer Science, from the School of Philosophy, from the School of Psychology, and I really liked how much flexibility there was in terms of making your own schedule and timetable and really customizing what they had to offer to support your background and your future.
All right. But when you talk of cognitive sciences and informatics, that was the name of your program. What
Mhm.
exactly is this? I mean, in a nutshell, what does this cover? Because this is not something which is quite popular or not many students are aware of this. So, what
Mhm.
exactly is this program all about?
So the way I would define it is more looking more at the human side of computer science.
Okay.
So that's the user. So understanding more about the users, user experience,
Mhm.
um, how they interact with computers, with digital interfaces, and what you need to understand as a developer, as a programmer to make it better.
Okay.
So my focus was more on like understanding the data of it, but also the human interaction side of it, things.
Okay. And in terms of the difficulty levels or in terms of the structure of the program, can you just elaborate a little bit on how exactly was this program structured? In terms, were there more courses that you had to take, or was there a lot of lab work or research work or projects that you had to do?
Hmm. I found the coursework quite heavy. So in the UK, it's a 1 year master's compared to the 2 year master's in the US, but it's
Right.
the same amount of content. So
Okay.
managing like having to do all of that in 1 year was a bit hard. The number
Hmm.
of assignments, balancing so many different types of courses, group projects, individual projects. It was very intense.
Okay.
Uh, so I did manage to get through it, but
Okay.
it was hard.
Okay. And did you work while studying, or did you not?
I didn't have a structured part-time job, but I did do this student ambassadorship at the university. So
Okay.
I chose that mainly because you can do your own hours. So it's like giving guided tours around the campus, answering queries online. So you can choose a number of hours you do. So I took that
Hmm.
because I could do it according to my work schedule for that week.
Okay. So the student ambassador was a paid job that you had to do,
It
or
was,
was it more?
yes.
Okay, fine. No, I thought it was more of a voluntary thing that uh, you became a student ambassador.
I mean, I would do more volunteering opportunities, but when you're a student budget, you want extra money.
Okay.
I also signed up with a bunch of like psychology research programs. They give you good money just for sitting and answering their questions.
Okay. Fine. Uh, and then currently, after you graduated in September 2022, you
Mhm.
have been working with this company called User Vision, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, what exactly is your role here? I mean, is it something more aligned to what you studied at the university?
Yes. So I wanted to get into user research. So user research is the field that studies users, their behavior online, their digital behavior, and customize their experience based on that. So to give them the best experience. And I'm working in the accessibility department,
Okay.
which is completely focused on ensuring that disabled users can use websites, mobile apps, any digital interfaces. So that is very close to what I wanted, even though I wasn't sure if even though working in accessibility wasn't part of my plan, I did want to work in something that combined computer science and the human side of things. So in that way, I'm very happy with what I'm
Okay.
doing.
So in the UK, I mean, how did you land up this job? I mean, what was you kind of had to search for it? You had applied to many other companies, of course, you might have, but then how
Yeah.
exactly did your job search process work in the UK?
So it was again long and hard. So something I didn't completely know before signing up was the the thing about graduate schemes.
Okay,
So there are many entry level schemes in the UK, entry level roles, but then the visa sponsorships happen with graduate roles.
okay.
And most big companies have graduate roles for different departments, for different types of opportunities. So I applied to a bunch of those.
Mm-hmm.
But then I heard, but then because at that time I was more focused on getting a job that would sponsor my visa, I wasn't very particular on the types of roles I was applying for.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I wanted to go into user research because my background is, I was able to apply for software development, data science roles.
Okay,
But then three different people had recommended this company to me.
okay,
They said it's sort of like when I was talking to people, they said that this company does a lot of things that I'm interested in.
okay.
So then I looked up their website, slightly cold call them, like send them an email with my resume saying that I'm interested.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily at that point they were looking at expanding their team. So then I had a couple of interviews with them, spoke to the managers, discussed when I could start working, whether I could start off part-time. So it was a very individual search. So for most of the other companies, it was on LinkedIn and this other platform called Target Jobs,
Okay.
but also networking to find out startups which might be hiring but do not necessarily advertise as much.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, the University of Edinburgh being one of the top ranked universities in the UK, did they have any career fairs or job fairs on campus, or do they support students with their job search, or is it more of
So
your
there
own
is
individual efforts that pay off eventually?
a very strong career development cell. They help you with interviews, with polishing up your resume. They do have certain career fairs where companies come and speak to you about the different opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
They also have a career portal where some companies might advertise specifically for the University of Edinburgh.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, it tends to be like a common portal where students from different universities across the UK do apply. So
Right.
the actual selection process is fair, but then fair in the sense that the University of Edinburgh doesn't specifically give you
Mm-hmm.
like a shoe into the door, but then they help you find those opportunities. They guide you to different platforms, the people you can talk to, how you're supposed to network, how you brush up your CV, how you prepare for some of those interview based, like the behavioral tests. So they help you with all of that, but then landing the job is something you have to do for yourself.
Okay. Fine. And in general, how was life in Scotland? I mean, how is it a lot different from living? I mean, of course, I don't know if maybe, I mean, there are a lot of people, students who prefer to go to London. That has always
Mhm.
been one of the favorite
Yeah.
destinations. So living in Scotland, did you feel that, you were in, because again, not a lot of companies in Scotland.
Mhm.
There are a few, but compared to London, I think there would be. I mean, the numbers would be lesser. So, being in Scotland, did you feel that you should have been in London, or you really enjoy being in Scotland?
So two parts to that answer. So first, in terms of job opportunities, because of how things are post-COVID, remote working and all, being in Scotland did not necessarily limit my opportunities.
Okay.
And I was applying to jobs all across the UK, like wherever I get one, I'll go. So I was looking at Edinburgh, I was looking at Manchester, Glasgow, and most of the jobs were in London.
Okay.
However, quite a few of them offered hybrid opportunities and they ask you straight up if you're willing to relocate. So
Okay.
me being in Edinburgh didn't necessarily affect my chances because if you get the job, you can work something out with the company. They don't like not select you because of your address.
Okay.
That being said, I really liked being in Edinburgh. I've visited London, but Edinburgh is nicer. It's prettier.
Okay.
It's
And
nicer.
you're
The
still
people
in
are
Edinburgh, right?
friendly. Yes.
Yes. Your current job is also in Edinburgh.
Yes, and I like that because the lifestyle here it's a little quieter than London. And maybe because I've studied here, I've got friends here, I've got my life here. I know I'm very geographically challenged. I can't read maps, but because I've been here long enough, I know how the streets work. I know where the shops are.
Okay.
It's nice to be in a place, work in a place which I've experienced as a student.
Okay. And generally, when you actually, so you had a year gap between from the time you actually graduated from your bachelor's and the time you started your master's. So did you do anything specially, because this program was quite different from what you studied in your bachelor? So did you do any special preparations, or did you take up some courses, or did you do something to prepare for this program?
Yes, I mean it was more about enhancing my own knowledge, not specifically for this program, but I knew I was interested in the things this program offered.
Okay.
So I was doing courses from Coursera and Udemy, especially in user experience research and human-computer interaction, but also some courses in statistics and psychology. So just to make sure I had a strong background and also to see whether this was the course I wanted to do. Like I didn't want to end up in my master's and realize I hated everything. So just to make sure I was making the right decision, I did online courses.
Okay. And you also wrote a book, right?
Yeah.
In that 1 year period. I don't know when you started, but yes, it got published there. The book was, for the viewers, the book was called Prey by the Chance.
Prey of the Chance.
Prey of the Chance, sorry. Yeah. And it was a fictional novel. So maybe someday we'll talk about how did you go about writing that book, because I'm sure a lot of not only students but a lot of people would be interested in how do you go about writing a book and getting it published.
Process.
So any plans of writing your next book, or is that something that you're working on right
now? No comment.
Yeah, okay, fine. I'll wait for it to be announced publicly. Fine. So in general, I mean, given you have a full-time job now, how hectic is your life? I mean, is the work-life balance? You get a lot of time to work on other things, so maybe the book or something else that you're working on.
So one of the main reasons I wanted to do the UK over the US was the importance they give to work-life balance. I mean, it could be a myth. Maybe in the US it would be sort of similar, but in the UK they really make sure if you're stopping at 5:30, you don't check emails after 5:30. You're completely offline. Weekends you don't work at all. So I love the work-life balance here. The companies also respect your time a lot, so they make sure you're working during work hours. If you have anything related to work, you do that when you're supposed to be working. So if you have any other research interests or things you want to learn about, they try to encourage you to do it during your work hours because it's for your benefit and for the benefit of the organization. Okay. So that way I get a lot of time to myself, like evenings, weekends, and especially after doing a master's, it feels great because master's, you make your own schedule, and unless you're very good at time planning, you find yourself working like late into the night, early mornings, over weekends. It just ends up being that way. But then when you're working in a company with with proper organized projects and deadlines, because you're working during fixed timing, you also fixed times, you also get your free time during fixed time. So that work-life balance is really good.
Okay. And any advice that you would like to give students who actually plan on joining, not just maybe the University of Edinburgh, but in general coming to the UK? Anything that you think they should be prepared with, or something that they should be aware of?
So I think what I found academically, what the biggest difference I felt was the relationship professors have with students.
Mm-hmm.
You don't necessarily feel the hierarchy. You can treat your professor as a peer. I mean, you give them respect, but then you can talk to them. You can challenge them during classes. You can have conversations with them. Even the classes are very conversation based.
Mm-hmm.
It's not testing whether you're right or wrong. It's just to see how you've understood it or if you have any opinions on the material.
Yep.
So I think my advice would be have your own thoughts about what you're learning and make sure you understand the foundations, make sure you understand the background. It's not just learning for a test, it's about learning it in depth so that you can have proper conversations about it. Don't just like study for an exam, study for marks, because it doesn't really help you in the UK. It helps when you've understood the concept enough to know what you're speaking about and to have your own thoughts and ideas about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. But in terms of and were there any surprises that you felt, or not something, maybe not just necessarily at the university, but in general, living in Scotland, that something that
How quiet everything is.
okay.
You don't hear cars honking or people shouting. It's very quiet all the time.
Okay. So you grew up most of your life in Chennai, right?
Yeah, so
Right.
coming
So,
from a big city can be a bit. Also the weather.
you're right. So I mean, anywhere in India, you're kind of used to noise.
Yeah.
So so that is something maybe yes, I mean, some people take time to get used to, but yes, that is definitely the case.
Yeah. But Edinburgh, in other ways, it's a very nice city. It's very multicultural.
Mm-hmm.
So like in terms of Indian groceries, or even if I wanted to buy a new pressure cooker, there's a shop just down the road.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So students don't need to be, and I think most big cities in the UK, you have a strong Indian population, so you don't have to be worried about coming in.
Okay.
Because you will find your people, you will find the way of living the way you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think a lot of students, when they're coming in, they're very worried about what to bring, what spices to pack, what utensils. But then it's not difficult.
Okay.
It's good to be prepared, but then you will find your community here.
Okay. Fine. So is there anything else that you would like to add, or anything else that you would like to talk about, or just something that you would like to share about your experiences as a student there?
Not particularly. I mean, sometimes imposter syndrome is a very real thing.
Okay.
You're in a class full of incredibly smart people, and you might wonder how you got there. But then I think it's good to reflect on you actually got that on your own merit. You worked hard for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to keep track of what you've done, because it can feel like everyone else is doing so much more. They're so much more prepared, but nobody is really. Like you go on LinkedIn and you'll see how people seem to be achieving so much more or doing so much more with their time, but you need to remember that you're doing the best you can. That's why you're here.
Okay. And that's definitely the case, because imposter syndrome, actually it can affect a lot of people, because everybody feels that somehow they are lagging behind, or and sometimes, but just being on LinkedIn or being on other social media platforms, you feel that everybody is doing a lot more things than what you're doing, whereas most of the students actually are almost in the same boat, and not only students, but almost even working professionals. When they are at the start of their career, they are almost at par with each other, and everybody is there because of their own merit, and not because you just came there, you landed there by luck, and everybody else is because of their skills or achievements. But yes, that is definitely a very valid point. So thank you, Snigdha, for your time. If there's something else that you would like to add, definitely If you think that there's something more that you would like to talk about, maybe, and you remember it later, we can have another session, and we'll wait for maybe your next book or whatever it is.
Okay.
So, anything else that you would like to say, or?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for this conversation.
Yeah,
And
no
we'll stay in
problem.
touch.
Thank you for asking me.
Hmm?
Thank you for asking me to be here.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. Okay. Sure. Bye.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.